Take a look at this, RC drivers. We've got the new CEN Racing F450 SD custom truck. So obviously this is an exciting new release on a number of levels for me. One, because I don't think I've ever seen a truck like this come right out of the box as a ready to run. Number two, I haven't had a CEN Racing vehicle in my hand for quite some time. And number three, I think this is really going to start a whole new trend in RC, and I'm really excited to show you guys everything that this truck is about, all the details. I've already taken this thing apart. That's how excited I am about it. I went and took the transmission apart, took some of the axles apart so you can see that, and you know, we've got a lot to talk about. So if you're here for the action portion of it, why don't you go down in the description below. I'll put a time key there so you can skip to that. But for those of you that want to learn all about this exciting new truck, just stay tuned. We are going to get into it. All right, now to start things off, the body on this. How killer is this F450 body? It is a licensed body, and there are a lot of licensed parts on this truck, which makes it, you know, really something special. It's not just a generic type of truck. CEN Racing went all out on this thing, making sure that it got a number of licenses on this truck, so it's just got that extra cool factor to it. But there's two different versions. We have the Blue Galaxy, and there's a gunmetal, I believe, is the other style of paint job on it. But you know, we've got a quad cab here. There are the big mirrors off the sides. We got windshield wipers in the front. And the decals, there are window decals on this, yes. And I know that in the past I've said that any ready to run in the scale community that comes out should have clear windows from now on. I'm not sure if I could stick with that statement here because it's a quad cab. That is some big open space if you just had clear windows on this, so I could see why they went and did it. Kind of wish that they left the, the underside clear, but they didn't. At least they did go ahead and paint the underside of the body black, which is key in my opinion. So when you do look up in the wheel wells and stuff, you don't see maybe, you know, another color in there. It should always be black, like, you know, undercoating. So I do like that. Up front, the bumper cover is obviously part of the Lexan body, and then the front grille, the Ford grille, is a decal, and the headlights are a decal, and the taillights are a decal. And this is one area where I wish CEN Racing went just the extra mile and kind of gave us a molded grille and molded headlights so we could put some LEDs in this killer body. But they didn't, and I'm kind of hoping that Knight Customs maybe sees you know, this truck and makes one of their front ends for it, where you could go and cut out the Lexan and put in lights with a 3D printed grille. That would be really cool because this truck really deserves that extra special detail. But overall, it does have a very killer look to it. I like the body. It's a two-piece body, and the color on here is just amazing. Probably this camera doesn't do justice the depth of this color. It's almost a purple. It's so deep blue, it's almost a purple. Really like that. And obviously the rear is flared out because it is a dually truck. So the chassis, we're gonna get to the chassis. It's a 4x4. It's got a long steel frame on here, dually tires in the rear, and it's got these large rims on here like a custom truck would have. And it's just really exciting. I mean, because I could see people just rolling up with trailers and stuff with their rigs on it, or you know, just rocking this thing as is, out having fun in the street and on some dirt roads and stuff like that. There's just so many possibilities of ways to go custom with this truck that I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy it. But enough of that. Let me get back to the details of this thing. We'll start off with the front like we normally do. Actually has a foam front bumper on it, kind of like a touring car, but that helps keep the front of it stable so it doesn't chatter around as you're driving, and obviously if you hit something, I'm guessing it's got to protect it as well. And then we get into the stamped steel frame rails, and really nice looking frame rail, really well done. And it's a multiple piece. So yeah, you got your left and your right, but the center section is separate from the front and rear rails. And what that allows you to do is actually adjust the length of the frame if you wanted to. You could get aftermarket drive shafts for the center. So if you did want to go and adjust this wheelbase for something else, you have that option to do so. That's pretty cool. Definitely like that. There are a lot of cross members throughout this chassis, which actually helps make it, you know, fairly rigid for the length of the chassis. Again, I think you're going to do a lot of flat driving with this thing on the street, and maybe flat dirt roads and stuff like that. So I think it'll be fine for that. You're not going to want something ultra rigid, but there are a lot of cross braces throughout this thing, and they're not actually all the same. Some are different in order to carry the links, and the center plate is actually metal as well. It's a stamped metal to secure the transmission. But back up towards the front here, let's start talking about the suspension and stuff. So these are stamped steel shock perches for the shocks. So, no plastic here, pretty rigid shock perches for holding the 12mm shocks. They are a composite body shock, 12mm, so it's got a lot of volume to it. It does have a threaded body, and the springs do seem pretty good for this truck. It's got a pretty good feel to it, pretty soft. And again, I think for road use, it'll actually be fine. So if you're going over bumps and stuff like that, it is a truck. You're gonna wanna do that. I think it will handle pretty well just by the feel. Of course, we'll figure it out when we're testing. But moving on, it's got a sway bar, which is pretty interesting to see on a truck like this. I'm guessing that is definitely gonna help with the handling traits as well on this. But really cool, really neat bar setup on here, the links. Everything looks quality on this. That's one thing I should jump to. CEN, they've really, since the last time I've had one in my hands, they've really stepped up on the quality of their build. If this is what their vehicles are like, I'm pretty impressed by this. But the composite plastics look really good throughout, and just the different materials, I really like the direction that they're going with things. So moving on in the suspension, it is a 3-link with a panhard in the front and in the rear as well, which is pretty interesting. I thought maybe they would go with a 4-link in the rear, but they didn't. I think it's basically because of the way the axle is set up. Maybe you could go 4-link in the rear. I didn't go that deep into checking it out, but yeah, panhard bar in the rear with a 3-link. And the links are aluminum rods, and they have metal pivot balls as well. The teardrops for the links on the chassis are steel as well, steel plates. To capture that, so that is very cool. And the suspension looks good for a custom style truck, I guess. I mean, this is kind of a new segment I'm thinking here. I don't know what else to really compare it to right now, but the suspension does look and feel really good on this truck. I like that as well. All right, now let's move on to the drivetrain stuff and the axles. They are a solid style of axle. They do have an open differential in them, and I went and I pulled the diff cover off. And it's really interesting the way it's set up. It's actually an open planetary gear differential in there. So you can see the gears moving once you pop the diff cover off. But it does have a steel ring and pinion gear in there. Kind of looks machined, don't quote me on that one, but at least it's metal in there. And ball bearings throughout, not sealed, but it does have metal shielded ball bearings throughout the entire driveline. And then steel axles obviously out to the front where it's a bone and cup style, not a universal, and then solid axle shafts out back to the wheels. So it's kind of like you're ready to run scale type of axle setup, but the axle itself has a really nice looking shape to it. And then on the outside, it does have composite plastic steering knuckles. It's universal from side to side, and they even have bump stop screws on there so you can limit the travel of the throw. So, with some vehicles, if you overextend the throw of the steering, it can go and damage the axle itself or cause too much chatter. So you can go and adjust those screws to limit that if you want to. Out back, it obviously has some lockouts for the rear because it's not going to use steering in the rear. So they just have lockout tubes like we normally see. And the link mounts, they all look good. They look like they're positioned correctly. They are separate, so you can bolt them on. And maybe if you break something, you can go swap that out. And same with the C-hubs. So, that's some stuff that people like to see in a trail truck, and this truck has it as, again, a custom truck. Now we can move on to the center transmission, and I did go ahead and take this apart as well. Nice, real compact transmission, and it does have some pretty cool features to it. So beyond being compact, it does have all metal gears throughout, and ball bearings in here as well. It's got an aluminum motor plate. I love seeing an aluminum motor plate, over the plastic motor plates, even though a lot of the composite motor plates work. I definitely like aluminum over that. It does have a slipper clutch in there as well, single pad slipper clutch, 32 pitch gears, 10 tooth on the pinion gear. Just really nice setup overall. But what really puts this over the top is you could go and switch out the idler gear, basically the center gear of the transmission, So the way it comes out of the box is it's set up for torque, and you could go and move the position of the gear, turn it around, and then it's their high speed gear. So just by switching that one gear around, you could change the ratios from torque to speed and you know, get some extra tuning out of the transmission on this, which is very cool. You know, some of you that are going to go and put a trailer on this, you're going to want that torque to pull. So you can have it set up just like it is out of the box, and it will be great for pulling. But for those of you that want to go maybe speed around on the street, you go flip that gear around and you get a little extra power out of it. That's pretty awesome in my book. And then what is also pretty cool, so we've got metal dog bones going down to the front axle. We've got a metal dog bone, a single-sided dog bone going to a carrier bearing, actually a floating carrier bearing, because you could go and actually move it around so it's not a rigid setup, which is super cool that they went that extra mile to make sure that the drivetrain is going to run smooth on here. And then it has a long dog bone out to the back. The only thing is the cups, the outdrive cups that go into the center of the transmission, they just slide right in, and they're just kind of held in with by pressure. So they're not going to fall out, but it's not screwed into the center spool like some other vehicles are. But I like the way it is all set up, especially for such a long vehicle. I like the detail there. All right, now let's go on to the electronics. So it does come with a Savox servo, and it's a metal geared servo. It does have a servo saver on the front, and for the use of this truck, I'm cool with seeing a servo saver on there, especially on a ready to run. And right behind there is a 1040 waterproof speed controller by Hobbywing. So again, we've got these aftermarket companies, in this truck. It's cool that they, again, went the extra mile and, got licensing, got aftermarket electronics in here, and it just shows that, CEN Racing is really stepping things up. And then behind it is a 550 Mabuchi motor. I didn't see what turn this motor was. I didn't see anything on the box, so I'm sorry I can't report what that is, but maybe it's a 27 turn, I'm not sure. But if you know what it is, definitely put it in the comments so other people will know. And then in the receiver box is the CEN receiver that goes with the radio system that comes with it. I'll show you guys that in a little bit. Right behind here is the box, and it fits your average LiPo batteries. It is a pretty tight fit. I already had a 2S pack in here. It is a very tight fit. And my pack actually had a short wire on it, which couldn't reach down here. So, either I'm gonna have to take that zip tie off or move the battery case forward. But it does have a T-plug fitted to it, so that's a good plug to start off as well. Let's see, what else am I missing here? We've got adjustability in the battery tray. You can move that forward or back. It comes in this back position. I'm guessing I put some weight on the rear tires, and pretty neat cross bracing in the back as well. It does look like we have a trailer hitch set up, but when the body is on, it's kind of spaced pretty far out from the bumper of the body. So I don't know, maybe if you have a long trailer hitch, that will work. And again, we've got the sway bar in the rear as well. Same 3 links set up in there. And now we can finally get to the tires and wheels on this. So CEN Racing partnered up with American Force wheels. So these are licensed wheels on here, and it's fitted with Fury Off-Road Country Hunter tires, which are a pretty neat tire. I don't have a lot of these style of trucks around where I live, but I've seen a lot of pictures of them. They are pretty cool, and I think they've replicated it really well. We've got some really deep offset hub adapters in the front, and hub adapters in the rear, and everything is bolted together. So it creates a pretty rich dually setup in the back. So I don't foresee any problems with wheels going rogue in the back of this thing. But this is a really cool truck. Now let me show you the other stuff that it comes with. So obviously, besides the truck, you do get a 2-channel radio system, and it's kind of your basic plastic radio, it kind of feels like, but it does have a rubber grip on there. Does have digital trim, so all you need is 4 AA batteries, and that will power that. But decent feel for a ready-to-run radio system, and it does have a blue LED light in there, so that is extra bonus points on my book for having that. Besides the radio, you also get an instruction sheet, you get some decals, and you get some basic tools along with it. You will need to supply the battery to power the truck, obviously, and a charger as well. All right, guys, I have been dying to go drive this. So we're gonna pack it all up, I'm gonna head out, we're gonna see how this thing rolls. All right, guys, time to test out the Ford F450 from CEN Racing. And I think it goes without saying, this thing just looks awesome out there. Now it's in the low gear, so it's really meant for, you know, towing stuff right now. And this is full speed, so you know, it's not blistering fast. I'd say it's probably about in line with a crawler, which, you know, most of the drivetrain is from a crawler type setup, so it's decent. And especially if you're going to be, you know, trailering something with this thing, that's more than enough speed right there for some scale action. But steering is pretty good. If you go and really carve into a corner hard, you'll see the front wheels chatter a little bit. I'm not sure if it's a servo saver kind of giving way or the tires just kind of gripping and letting go. They kind of have a right angle to it. Now I was out on the other side of this parking lot kind of running through some sand and stuff, and I noticed then when you go from sand to a high traction surface like pavement, those differentials kick in. You know, they're spinning through the sand, they kick in and kind of jolt the truck once you hit the traction surface. But I mean, the big thing here is look how incredible this truck looks out on this tarmac. Wonder if I'm gonna get kicked out of this parking lot. Nice new painted parking lot. I think it really looks good out here. And I think for those of you that want to drive it full speed, you know, get some more speed out of it, you can run it on 3S. And I was told that the brush motor could take it, and you could go flip that gear around in the transmission and get some more speed out of it. But I just as is, I could drive this all day. I could sit down with a 5,000 milliamp pack and run this thing out, just watching it go around. This is pretty much full clamp the whole time, just gliding it around. And it's really about being a showpiece, I think. Nice custom truck. Those wheels look awesome on there. You know, those tires, like I said, if you go hit something with hard traction to it, like a really rough asphalt surface, those right angles on the tires might catch a little bit, so just be careful with that. You don't want to roll this thing over and scratch it up. But this thing has been fun. I've been driving it for the close-ups. Got I don't know how many battery packs there is so far, and it just looks incredible. That's what I really enjoy about this truck. I think CEN did a great job with this thing. I think, you know, I said it early on when I was talking about the details. If they had thrown a grill on there and some headlight buckets and some taillight buckets, so we could put some LEDs in here, that would have really just set this truck over the top. But as is, it's cool. I could see a lot of people adding this to their scale collection. All right, guys, let's head back to the workshop and we can wrap up this review. It's been a while since I've driven a CEN Racing vehicle, and I think the last one was a Matrix buggy. I remember that being a lot of fun, but I think I've been missing out on the new CEN Racing. I know they have a lot of new monster trucks and stuff, and now with this DL series Ford F450, I think they're doing a great job. I think they're really going down the right path, coming out with a custom truck, something new, something fresh here. I think a lot of people have been looking for something new, and I think this fits the bill. Yeah, it's kind of got a scalar type chassis to it, but it's a custom truck, and it's ready to run right out of the box. You don't have to paint it or anything, and you have this cool custom vehicle. You get to drive around, you know, maybe turn it into a tow vehicle for some other vehicles that you have. It's just a very cool concept, and I'm really excited to see what else they come out with. Since it's part of the DL series, I'm guessing they're going to have other vehicles in that series, and I'm really looking forward to it. But this vehicle right here, again, it was really fun to drive around in the parking lot. You know, I just had it in the torque gearing, but I could certainly see it being a lot more fun if you turn that transmission gear around, get some more speed out of it, drive it on a 3S battery pack. In fact, I think I might do that. If you want to see me go and set this up for the speed gearing, run it on a 3S battery pack and do a speed test with it, let me know in the comment section below, and I will do my best to hook that up very soon because I do want to drive this truck again. But again, out on the parking lot, you know, fun to drive around. There's a little bit of wheel chatter in the steering when you're cornering hard at speed with this thing. You know, it does have some larger tires on here, larger rims, so I could certainly see that. Kind of being a bit more demanding on the steering, but maybe, you know, with a couple of tweaks, like maybe getting rid of the servo saver from just using a solid servo horn there. That might help things out a bit, but again, it's kind of the scale factor you got to think about here. It's about driving it and looking cool, and again, maybe hooking up to a trailer or something like that. That's where the fun factor is really going to be. The drivetrain was nice and smooth. You know, while it was cornering, I think those sway bars definitely helped it out. The only thing is, if you are running it on some sort of loose surface and then it hits traction again, it really catches hard, and you know, this thing veers off a bit. But overall, I think this is an excellent package. The transmitter works great. You know, we've got some good electronics in there, and I want to see what people are going to do these things, because I think this segment might actually grow. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Durability wise, I don't foresee any real durability issues. Again, you're kind of just cruising around with this thing, so unless you're, you know, smashing into curbs and stuff, not really going to be a problem. And again, if you do, there are some aftermarket parts that you can get for it. I mean, it's got some good stuff on here. We got aluminum links, we've got the large bore shocks and everything, and the transmission gears, all metal transmission gears in there, full ball bearings. It's got some good stuff. I like it. Awesome job, CEN Racing. I can't wait to see what comes up next in the GL series. And you know, this is going to look good on the shelf and when I'm driving it in the future. If you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. Throw this video a like, and we'll see you back soon for some more RC Driver videos.